Hello and welcome to our second installment of the Hollywood Actors Guide to Surviving the Film and TV Industry. And if you guys have any questions out there that you want answered, please email me at hollywoodactorsguide@gmail.com. So today, guys, I want to talk to you about journaling. Now, this isn't necessarily a traditional journal that you're thinking about where you sit down and you write about your feelings, though you are perfectly welcome to do that. And after any frustrating auditions, sometimes I will sit down with my actor's journal and just write everything out, why I thought things went the way they did, and hopefully ways I could prevent it in the future. So yes, you can use it to write down your emotions, but what I really want you to do is track your auditions. I want you to write down every audition you have, who the casting director is, who you met, how the audition went, the people that you meet when you go out to network, even what they look like, whatever you need so that you can remember who they are and where you met them before. And you also want to write down any feedback that you got in a room from a casting director. That way, the next time you go into audition for them, you can look back and see how that audition went. If maybe the casting director gave you a compliment, you want to be sure that you can repeat whatever it is that may have, caused them to bring you back into the room after that first audition. So a little story for you of how my journal has really powerfully impacted me very, very recently. Well, it actually starts about 2 years ago. I auditioned for the sequel of I Spit on Your Grave. So it's I Spit on Your Grave 2. And I went in. It was a great audition. I feel like I nailed it. And then I didn't hear anything. Very likely what happened in this time period is I think the film may have lost their funding and maybe it came back, and this type of thing happens in Hollywood all the time. But almost a year to the day, I got an email requesting me to come in for a callback a year later from my first audition. Now I went in and it was a great callback. I feel like it was more of actually a chemistry read. That's what it felt like. And that's when they put you together with actors that maybe you have a love interest with or a friendship, and they just want to see how the chemistry between the two of you will vibe to see if they feel like it works on the film. Now, unfortunately, I did not book the role, but just a few weeks ago, I got an audition that I submitted for myself through Actors Access, and everyone out there should be on Actors Access. Just go to actorsaccess.com and sign up for an account if you haven't yet. It's vital for your career. And I noticed on there that it was the same casting director as I Spit on Your Grave. So, I made sure the submission was like on par, the best I could do. I did not mention that I auditioned for them before. I do feel like that's tacky, and casting directors have better memories than we give them credit for. So, I just submitted for the role that I knew I was right for. And I was asked to self-tape, and this was for a lead of a film. And so they asked for a self-tape, and then I got asked for to submit it again with some notes. So it's kind of like a callback on self-tape, which also seems to be becoming more and more prevalent these days. I'm not sure how I feel about callbacks being on self-tape, but that's the way it went. And then I didn't hear anything. And then 2 weeks later, through my agent, she was like, hey, you have an audition. They just reached out to me and they requested you. And I looked at the breakdown, and it was a different casting director, but it was the same director from I Spit on Your Grave. So what I'm wondering is that maybe the casting director took my tape and was like, well, she's not right for my film, but the director that I worked with on this other movie is also casting something that she may be right for, and he may have passed on my tape, because it seems incredible that a casting director and director who are working on two completely different projects that I auditioned for, a few years ago, suddenly almost back to back, have started requesting me. And now I've gone in and auditioned for this new casting director, and I've submitted quite a few self-tapes to these two individuals. And I do believe it has to do with the great work that I did a few years ago. And if I hadn't written down their names and the project and everything and kept an actor's journal, I would have no idea where these auditions are coming from. So it can be a very powerful tool to really track and to, and in a lot of what this podcast is how to survive this industry. And part of surviving it is figuring out how to keep a positive mindset through all the drudgery that we go through as actors, and to know that my work just a few years ago was remembered and respected and is now paying off later on, that's really good for your heart and for your drive. So please, guys, you can go to Barnes and Noble. They have these great little journals. They're like $5 and they've got quotes in them. I'm a big fan of quotes. I just like them. And you just start writing everything down. And you can also use it to set goals. There's an article in Psychology Today. I should have written down who wrote the article, but I did write down a quote from the article, and it says, a 2015 study by psychologist Gail Matthews showed that when people wrote down their goals, they were 33% more successful in achieving than those who formulated outcomes in their head. And I don't know about you, but every little percentage that can get me towards my goal of being a consistently working actor is worth it. All it takes is sitting down and writing out your goals and figuring out the step-by-step process of how you're going to book that first co-star or guest star, et cetera, et cetera. It's a super powerful tool, guys. I also wanted to mention, moving on to another topic, Saudi Arabia has announced new film initiatives. And for those of you who don't know, for well over 30 years, there haven't even been movie theaters in Saudi Arabia, but that has changed. They've started this film initiative. They're actually encouraging artists, and they, from what I understand, even started a film school. I'm not sure what it's called, and they're starting to produce their own films. And there's even been announced their first ever film festival named the Red Sea International Film Festival. I am really excited to see the films from these filmmakers coming out of the Middle East. I feel like we don't really understand that region as well as we could. And to see what kind of art comes out of there, I'm really excited about that. I feel like any of our Middle Eastern talent that may be listening, I think there is a huge advantage to be had here because they don't have much of an infrastructure. They don't have a lot of filmmakers. So if you are a filmmaker here in the United States or wherever you're at and you are training and you know what you're doing and you have any connections to Saudi Arabia, I see that there's a lot of potential coming out of there to maybe start directing or get some acting roles because my instinct says they're going to be hungry for talent and people who are knowledgeable about the industry to come in and help build up that infrastructure. So last night, for those of you who listened to my first podcast, know that we had our Scripts Gone Wild event. We did Zombie Nightmare, and it was a great success. What we do is we get a bunch of actors on stage. We had Tom Everett Scott. We had a bunch of people from The Walking Dead, and we read a script, and it's a drinking game. And anytime certain words are said, and all the actors have to take a drink. If an actor messes up a line, they have to take a drink. If you are sober, we do provide designated drinkers for you. And it's a great time, and we raised money for charity, and we raised a lot of money for the Shriners Hospital last night. And the reason I bring this up is not to be like, oh, I look at me, I did this great thing last night. It's because for any of you out there who are struggling financially and you are really wanting to get some credits on your resume and you're not sure where to start, doing charity work is a great way to start building that resume up, because what you can do is you can write your own show, and if you're putting it on for charity, you're going to find it's pretty easy to get sponsors and to get people to donate spaces and to get people who are fans of the charity who are going to come out and support your play or your show or whatever it is that you're doing, just so that they can support the charity. And it's not going to come out of your pocket like thousands of dollars, like putting on maybe a full theatrical production or shooting a short film will. And if you are completely against doing theater, which totally confuses me if you want to be an actor, you can also do this with films. So you could go to, let's use the example of like the Shriners Hospital, maybe reach out to them and say, hey, I'd like to do a really inspirational short film that really highlights the work that the Shriners Hospital has done. And I've written this piece. Let me know if you like it. Maybe we could work together and get some funding and get this thing off the ground. There are so many clever ways that you guys can use to start making your own opportunities and creating your own work. And I'm hoping on this podcast that I can give you all my ideas and that you guys run with it and you email me and you let me know what's happening at hollywoodactorsguide@gmail.com so that I can let everybody else know. So if you're putting on a show, even if it's not here in Hollywood, I'll shout it out. I'll let people know, you need to be celebrated for these little successes that you guys have. Actually, that would be a big success if you guys put on a show. So don't cut yourself short, guys. You're doing great. Even listening to this podcast means you're doing something for your career. And I am really, really proud of you. So that is it for today, guys. You can follow the show on Instagram at Hollywood Actors Guide. You can go on to Facebook. It's also under Hollywood Actors Guide. And there I usually post articles that I feel like you guys will find helpful. Like I did post an article today about what's happening in Saudi Arabia. So if you guys want to learn more about that, I did post that there. The Instagram tends to be more short form videos or inspirational stuff that I try to get out to you guys. My personal Instagram, if you are curious about me, is Jennifer Lynn Warren. In fact, that's me just all over the social media world, Jennifer Lynn Warren. You can just look me up if you are curious. So break a leg out there, guys, and remember, you are not alone.